this session I want to look at how we can take this mesh body, an imported STL file, and build a solid body from it. So to start with, the first thing that I see is that it's not centered, and to make this job easier I'm going to position it. So under the reverse engineering tab we have this align command. Pick on the mesh body that we want to work with, and using the best fit bounding box I can position my coordinate system on that edge there, accept it with the right mouse click, pick the other main coordinate system, and that positions it centrally in the Y plane but not in the X or Z. So to sort of get this better positioned, I can use my identify regions. I can manually select the inside of this hole. I'm just going through and painting over those mesh faces and just taking it all the way around. Right mouse click to finish. Doesn't matter that I've gone all the way around because it's just sort of identifying the region. What I need to do is change it to recognize it as a cylinder, and that creates that cylinder in there for me. Doesn't matter that it's not fully created because all I'm after is the edge on here. So I can select that. Hitting the space bar allows me to select the other option as well, so I can come back in here, pick up on the steering wheel and position that. So if I look at my front view, you'll see that we are sort of square on, so I just need to use my option here to pick it up off a key point on there, and then likewise coming in this direction, and you can see that we've simply taken that into a position that we can now utilize properly. The next stage here is to find something that I can use to build the solid geometry that we're after. So the tool I'm going to use in this case is the section sketches, and by selecting that I can have the first option of select the model body, the mesh body, accept that with the right mouse click, and then I want to specify which surfaces I want to create the sketches on. So the top view here, I am interested in, say, one offset and say about 25 up or down, and if I sort of just leave that there, I can see that I'm sort of just coming in off that edge, so it gives me the sort of like the profile that I'm after, and I can finish on there. Doing the same thing in the other directions. I'm interested in, say, maybe this one here, maybe change that out to 30, which gives me a section through the leg maybe. That should just be enough. So that gives me the profile of that leg, and then the final one will be in this direction. I'm going to go with 2, guess somewhere around 70. Obviously not going to do me much good going in that direction, but 70 gives me a good cross section of here and through those legs as well. So if I accept that and hide the mesh model, you'll see that we've got something here that we can start building from. You can see sort of quite clearly the shape that we need to work with. What I will show though is that if we click on here, that's just taken a section through the mesh model. So as you can imagine, what we get is something that is a lot less tangible to work with. We'd need something a lot cleaner. So we can use this to sort of build our profiles from, and I'm going to do this first. Rather than designing in the mesh body, I'm going to come up to my Boolean operations and add a new body, and I'm just going to name this the solid body. And then from here, what I'm interested in doing is creating some profiles. Now if we look here, we've got all these sort of section sketches that it's created, and as you saw, I've created them based around these this coordinate system here. The problem that we have is that if I start sketching on that plane, it's going to then give me a connection to the rest of the sketch, and it's not going to allow me to do much with it. So I'm going to create a coincident plane from here, and then use my steering wheel just to pull it out past the end, which allows me to start my modeling. So I'm going to do a circle by center, hover over that plane, use the F3 key to lock it, Control H takes me through to my sketch view. So you can see now why we've got that sort of coming in on the center. It means that I can build my model that much quicker. Obviously I could connect to this edge, but you can see that we're not sort of clearly defined, so we can work out what our size needs to be from there. I can unlock the plane from over here and rotate that around. So I'm not interested in modeling from that point there. I need to take this back into, say, this edge here. So I can hit the escape key, go to my sketch 8, and using my steering wheel I can then sort of come in and pick up off a key point here, which allows me to have it positioned relatively accurately. So I can pick up on my region, use my arrow and pick up off a key point on, say, one of these sketches over here. And that defines my first feature in the solid body. And as you can see, it's created that extra body now that I've created the solid to work from. So I'm gonna sort of start drawing the next bit. I'm gonna go to actually I'll lock the plane here, Control H. I'm just going to sort of try and get a rough idea of the size of this main body here. So if I sort of say dimension from here to a point on here, 34.39 in that direction, or 34.29. So I'm going to say it's a square of 34.3. Obviously, once we've built it, we can resize it as we need to. So I'm going to say 68.5. Use the tab key, 68.5, and then 0 for the orientation. So then I will say take a line here, this needs to be the 45-degree edge here. Just want to double check that let's just turn off these other sketches. So just want to make sure that that is actually connected to the right point. So do a connect between that and here, and then I can use my trim command to remove the area that I'm not interested in. Then I can just come across here and using the ability in Solid Edge to just connect two edges, I can hover over here to just recognize that point there, and as you can see that we're getting that all nicely lined up, and then I can use my trim command to get rid of the excess bits that we don't want. So let's unlock the plane, and as you saw before, we need to sort of move this back out. So if I pick up on this sketch here, get my steering wheel, and I can just drop that back in to a point here. Like so. And then I can specify that region and just drag it out. Shift key turns off the symmetry, and I'm looking at pulling it out to a point out here somewhere. And as you can see that we're sort of got a good way in towards doing our solid from here. Okay, so taking that a step further, let's create some profiles in the opposite plane. So create a coincident plane there, drag it off, and using a command just to sort of lock the plane. What we're looking at doing is just to show those other sketches, and if I use my smart dimension, I can sort of see what sizes these are supposed to be with a rough sort of size. I'm going to use the distance between for this one, but just because it's a really weird. So I'm going to take off that point there, coming out to here, and that gives me a value of say 87. So that gives me my overall sizes. If I come in and do a rectangle by 2 points coming off here, I know that this is going to be 87 and 76.2. Likewise, I could do an include. I'm going to take that plane as well, and this one here. So I'm now going to hide that sketch, and this gives me the profiles that I am after. Let's hide that other one in the background just so that we don't get confused. I'm going to take off these linked elements just because we don't need them, and I'm just going to take a copy of that face there, so then I can use my trim corner, so keep it on the bits that we want to keep. Take that one to there, that one to there, and that one to there. It gives me my profile. I can do an extend to next on this one here in both directions, and then trim away the area that I'm not interested in. So that gives me my profile that I'm after, and then I can click on my sketch and just drop that back down onto that center point. I have my region that I'm after, so you can maybe see that we are cutting away, so we need to change our option to add, and the width here is 55, and that creates our new so now let's just quickly add in the rounds that were on here, which I took out. So just use the round command, click on the edges that we want to include, set the size and accept that. So I need to take this around to the other side, so I can just do a fence selection on that area there. Also need to include this surface here, so positioning the steering wheel, I can click on the center here, click on the copy command and just drop that round 180 degrees, and that gives me my profile. So let's take this to the final step and use a different philosophy. If we've got our mesh body, we can see that we haven't got the end here. So let's just hide the solid body that we had, add in a body for the end feature and go OK on that. So if we zoom in up on this area here, we can use the option to manually cover this area here, so we can just create a few regions. Need to change color for each separate one so that it recognizes it separately when we try and place a surface over the end. So just quickly go round and define each face with a different color. And then finally I'm going to close the end off with this one here. So if I just sketch around the edge, and finish that off, I can go to my fit command. Interested in plane this time, so I can just go through and select each of those surfaces that I painted over. I mean, admittedly, this is a nice clean STL, but it does allow us to go in and do this in a messier one. So let's hide our mesh body. So we've got a whole load of overlapping surfaces, so I can use the intersect command and change my option here to create design body. So if I just select all of those surfaces, it's going to do a trim for me and leave me with what is in behind. I'm going to choose to consume surfaces and unite the regions. So we just accept that, and we end up with a sort of body sitting on the end of the other bit. So we've got two separate areas here. If we go across, I'm just going to come back in here and reactivate this one, and then I can use the union command to say I want to join that one with this one here, and that creates a single body back in with that extra surface. So you can see we've got some very useful tools here in the reverse engineering thing to actually build some sort of model. You know, from here we can you know, do our normal synchronous modeling. We can sort of extend that out. Alternatively, we could do a fence selection on the end and take the whole end out as one. So yeah, the tools here to produce something usable are pretty intensive.